It's your day off, you're running errands. Walking to your car, you suddenly witness a robbery in progress. You hail a passerby and ask her to call 911. You take cover behind your car. Drawing your weapon, you wait. Is this calculated ambush justified? Stop the Threat starts now. Hello and welcome to Stop the Threat. My name is James Towle. On today's episode, we take you to Houston, Texas for a daylight armed robbery, which we call interrupted robbery. But first, allow me to introduce this week's panel. Don Clark. Don was with the FBI for 25 years and was a special agent in charge of both the Houston and the New York office. Don has been with us before, and thank you for coming back. Chuck Joyner. Chuck served with the CIA before joining the FBI. Chuck retired in 2011 and opened his own company called Survival Sciences. Marc MacYoung, another returning guest and the author of 25 plus books on the subject of surviving in a high-risk situation, and a well-recognized court expert on cases involving violence. Now, just before we came on, we were discussing, and I want to share this with you, we were discussing what constitutes a justified shoot. Now, that is a legal term, and I think this is worth sharing with you. Don, you want to start us off?
A shoot that's justified is when the individual does not at all comply, but it goes beyond just complying before officers should shoot that individual. So you have to continue to try and get this person to do what you're asking him or her to do, like in some moons enough. That's right. To do something and then try to get somebody there to maybe put their hands on them. That's what it really is.
Well, in order to use deadly force, you have to be able to explain why that other person presented to you a threat of death or serious bodily injury.
Right, and that's important.
We're talking about law enforcement officers or civilians. I think you're referring to law enforcement officers, correct? Yeah. And your reference is to both.
Yes.
Go with that.
Right. One of the things that people don't understand is, and this is wrong, and it makes lawyers twitch when I say that, so just bear with me. When you claim self-defense, the burden of proof shifts to you. That means you have to articulate why that level of force was necessary. And there's a lot of people who are not going to be happy with your force decision. Okay. And they're going to try and
Let me ask you this. Okay, you're a civilian. You have somehow detained someone who has done something wrong in your home, for instance. He gets up and he walks out. I think I get a lot of emails about, what do I do? I can't shoot him, can I?
See you later.
No.
You absolutely cannot
shoot him.
You can't shoot him.
And I mean, one of the things that you really do recognize, if you tell the guy to leave, and he does, you don't have to deal with the aftermath of a shooting. And then you call the police and tell them this is what he looks like, et cetera, et cetera. Trying to control somebody, and you said, if you've detained, mistake number one is trying to detain.
Yeah.
Right. Get him out of your house. He's like an obnoxious guest. You want him gone.
Any use of force has to be based on your perception. You have to perceive that there's some sort of threat. Yes. And somebody walking out of your house, you cannot explain that reasonably why that's a threat to you.
And I think that's a good point. I get a lot of questions on that too. When we come back though, I'm going to show you interrupted robbery, and I think you'll find it quite interesting. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Thanks for coming back, folks. Before I show you part one, I would like to give you some stats on robberies in Houston, Texas. In 2007, the robbery rate was around 11,000 per year. It is significantly down in 2012. That may be the fact that there are more weapons on the street. I'm not going to go there yet, maybe later. But let's look at interrupted robbery and we'll come back.
now. Please don't shoot. Hey, Kurt, here, get down. Stay low, stay low. They're robbing that store over there. Here, go call 911. Stay low, go over there and call 911.
Okay, before we saw part one, you know, I made a statement about whether or not the robbery rate may have changed because of the fact that we have more armed people in Houston than most cities, and so I'm going to kind of augment that a little bit by saying that that's probably true, but I also think that law enforcement in Houston has also improved in their tactics, and there's more of them. But that being said, where are we going with this? I mean, here's a civilian becoming law enforcement.
Right.
Okay.
Nowhere good is
He's
where this is
walking. He's
heading.
minding his own business. He sees something taking place. I have to tell you that I think that's bait for almost anyone who is armed and thinks that they want to change the results.
Right.
Good idea?
No, and actually this reminds me of an actual incident that happened in McDonald's years ago, where you have a police officer in line in plain clothes and he sees the McDonald's being robbed. He decided he was going to do something about it, and he did, and he ended up shooting and killing the robber. The problem is the robber also got off a shot and killed a small girl. And that's something you have to be aware of. It's not just you and the robbers.
You know,
there are other
really-
innocents running around too.
That's really a good
And this is a
point.
property crime at this point. If
That-
somebody's life is in danger,
Right.
then it's a different situation.
Well, you know, that I think that's an excellent point, actually. What do you think, Don?
I couldn't agree more, because I've been in that situation where an agent, an employee, another police officer decides to take it on himself to go in and handle that type of a situation, and it just doesn't work that way. And what usually happens is that other people are harmed by it.
Innocent.
Right.
Significant.
More than that.
Yeah, right.
More than that. 911? Yes. Two guys wearing masks just walked into.
What's wrong with that idea?
There's
Nothing.
again. It's a great idea. Communication is a lifesaver in this business.
I mean, even if you're going to insert yourself,
Right.
the call would have been a good idea.
Right, which by the way,
to protect yourself by
yes,
the call, by the way.
that is very much the
Huh?
case. But
Yeah.
call for backup. Don't try and handle it yourself. And that's the cowboy attitude of I can take care of it myself.
Careful, we're talking about Texas now.
Well, I'm from Colorado. I can, and I married into a ranching family, so I'm good on that.
Yeah. And that's one that really should be on television and on the boards out along the highways here in Texas, because that's still a lot of that. And I'm a Texas boy, but it's still a lot of that. You know, hey, if I got my gun, I'll go over here and make it right. And it's never happened
Right.
good. No.
One thing I learned as a professional, you can never have too much backup.
Yeah. I like the fact that he could have got on the phone. He could have called
Sure.
911. His phone could have been a weapon almost if he was taking pictures.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
I mean,
film,
you
hey,
had the back
License
of the
plate.
car, right? And you had the people moving in and out. So you're taking photographs. You're covered. Hey, what's wrong with
Filming.
stopping right there, waiting for
you
law
can
enforcement
film.
to arrive?
Yeah.
It's like they're coming. They just went in. I'm filming, and sitting right there, watching it. You can record if something goes wrong inside there. You have the video evidence of that, and then even if everything goes right as they leave, you get a beautiful shot of their license plate.
And who's going to be more happy with that than law enforcement?
There you go,
Right.
and you can't
That's
outrun
right.
a Motorola.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
And citizens, you know, they need to be protected that, hey, you just can't go in there and do that because you think you're going to do that.
Because
Those
you're
days are
armed.
gone. Because,
Right.
you know,
Right.
Let's
who
not
gets hurt the
forget
worst?
why
Yeah.
you went out and got your CCW license. It was to protect you, your family, and maybe the people around you.
That's right.
He could have been motivated by the fact that he thought someone was going to get hurt inside the store. I guess that could have been a motivation. Maybe he's thinking, if I get involved, I can prevent someone. When we come back, we'll talk more about it, and I'll show you part 2.
Hey, Kurt, here, get down. Stay low. Stay low. They're robbing that store over there. Here, go call 911. Stay low. 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 Stay low.
Thanks for coming back, folks. I think we have a very interesting situation going on here. And I think there are some people out there, and I'm not saying everyone, but I think there are a percentage of people out there who are armed, who see something like this, who feel like they need to get involved. We discussed some ways to get involved without drawing your weapon. I can understand some partial understanding of why you might draw your weapon if you think someone in there may be going to get hurt. I mean, you can stretch this out a long way, but at what point do you really get involved?
Again, it comes down to, is somebody about to lose their life? If somebody under threat of a serious bodily injury or death, and in this case you don't think so, or you don't know.
Okay, so you could have your camera out, you could be doing all those things, all of a sudden you hear gunfire inside. Now do you put the phone down and draw your weapon, Don?
Use what you've got to do it. You can't do it with just one individual, Cell phones.
Get some resources.
That to me is the greatest use of cell phones in the United States.
Okay.
Is to be able to call somebody and say.
Hold that
Hammer
thought.
gun.
Yeah.
Let's look at part 2, and then we'll draw some more conclusions.
Stay low. Go over there and call 911. He's got a gun. Don't move! Stop!
Okay, for just a minute there, I thought he was going to shoot the running robber.
Well, he's still
And
got
it looked
problems.
like he was going to, but I think the light came on. And
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But the fact is, when the officers roll up, they're going to see one guy with a gun.
Yeah,
And they want to talk to him.
Yeah, okay, but I do think that he was handling himself fairly professionally. I mean,
That's
I'm
the
not
problem.
going to say that the guy is in law enforcement because I know that he wasn't. But, if you're going to do that, at least he seemed to be doing it correctly. He's behind cover. He sent someone off to go 911. He's waiting for something to go wrong. I think where he crossed the line was when he came up and
Yes.
waited for him to come out the door.
Yeah.
And actually,
I
he,
might have gone.
Yeah, and see that's my point, because although we had good intentions, but if he shoots one time and hurts somebody, then the police come up and they get word and they're headed that way and they come up, who are they going to catch? Him.
Right.
He's going to be the first one to be arrested.
more than that, this was unnecessary. Right? Nobody had been shot. Nobody had been injured during the commission of a felony. Fine dandy, they want to be fleeing felons. He wanted to play cop. So when he stood up with that gun, and I mean, putting his hat backwards, yeah, that's going to go over
Yeah.
well.
He set himself into what he was going to do when he turned his hat.
Right,
We
but
kinda
more
knew
than that,
he
when
committed.
he engaged these guys, that's what caused the gunfire.
He's got a gun.
So now you got some serious problems that he's going to be trying to explain how he actually set it off. And now you got a guy laying on the floor with a bullet hole in him, and that's going to come back to haunt him.
And if you're that guy, you have to do a cost-benefit analysis.
Yes.
He's sitting there and he's seeing this happening, and he decides he's going to take action. No matter how it turns out, and he's fortunate that he was able to win that gun battle. But now we're looking again at the cost, the $100,000 cost of
Right.
attorney fees and having his house, his job, everything else threatened.
That's right.
Because he chose to make this decision. And that's a great decision to make, perhaps, if it's a family member or a friend or somebody's life that's in danger. For a property crime, I don't think that's a good cost-benefit analysis.
I agree with you, and particular today, a few years ago where we didn't have cell phones and everything to everybody, that might be the case, but today, there's no excuse for it.
Well, again, I mentioned earlier, I have two hands. I can have a cell phone in one. If I feel the need, I can keep the gun down, right? I can assist the police with them catching these guys. But the fact that they had come out of the building and there had been no shooting until he intervened, that's going to come back and haunt them.
And what you're talking about, Mark, too, if you're filming with one hand and the gun's in the other, and now they come and attack you because
Fine.
they see you, now you're in a position to respond.
Right.
To defend yourself,
Yes.
right?
See, two hands are wonderful.
Yes.
Right, right. So, okay, he took cover.
Good.
I mean, so that move was good, okay? He decided he was going to commit to becoming the hero of the hour. I don't know that that's great, but so he's chosen to do that. If everything went right, then how's this going to look in court?
It depends on the prosecutor.
It depends upon the prosecutor?
It depends on the prosecutor.
Well, I can tell you how it's going to look in court. It's
Okay.
not going to look good at
Not
all.
gonna look good.
It's not going to look good with the judge, and it's not going to look good with the citizens because they're going to say, who is that guy? First of all, who is that guy? And now what has happened is that guy now has to really try to prove himself that he was
has to
really the
explain why
citizen
he
to
did
do
it.
it.
And this goes back to the
It's
first
not gonna
scenario I
go
mentioned.
away.
As
No.
he's throwing rounds downrange, he's having those rounds perhaps impacting the window behind him, the people that are in the restaurant or the
Right.
store.
Exactly.
And
That's
the
still-
bad guys' rounds going the other direction,
Yeah.
where are they going?
That's
Right.
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 He
So
ends up with
So
the
the
worst
judge
end
is
of this.
actually going to make a move on this and say, hey, I don't think that was the right thing to do. Who's
The
going to say no to this?
The prosecutor is going to be.
Prosecutor's going to get
But
upset with
realize,
that.
anytime you're engaged in a use of force situation, somebody's going to be unhappy with your decision.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back with the conclusion and probably some more remarks. Don't go away. Hashtag Stop the Threat. Welcome back, viewers. You know, there is a question here I want to bring up that we haven't touched on. How about the lady who went off with the phone? Where does she fit in the whole scenario later on in court? She's now involved in this, right? Whether she likes it or not, she is involved. So how's that go down in court?
It depends on her, because she may be very upset that somebody got killed, right? And that she was involved. I mean, how dare you drag her into this violent situation?
That's what I'm thinking.
So it's, again,
you don't know who you're talking to.
You
so,
can't
yeah.
predict which way people are going to jump.
Yeah, but she's going to be right into the midst of it, and she's going to have to be interviewed and go through everything and all kinds of investigation to see that she wasn't a party to the person who had
Okay, the
gun.
other side of the
That's
story
deal.
here, Don, is so this is going on. The guy calls you over, says, there's a robbery taking place. Here's my phone. Go call 911. Is that woman going to say no and walk away? Are you suggesting
No.
that she should not become involved?
I'm not saying that, but I think what a citizen should do is just call to a law enforcement agency and tell them what's happening and let them come there and handle it, not her.
Okay, so you don't think when this court thing goes down that she somehow has a chance of coming out of this looking badly?
No, I don't think she's going to be culpable at all.
Okay,
No,
all right.
she's not
Okay,
involved
so
on
if
that.
you're a civilian and this is taking place, you happen to be at the right place at the wrong time, and someone asks you, you're going to expect that civilian to come forward and say, sure, I'll help. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
You know, that could be pushing it a little bit, and I can understand their concern
Yeah,
that
well-
I don't know what you're going to do, and people died there.
Yes. Yeah.
Or were
Yeah.
seriously injured. I'm
Well,
not
the
sure
other
they
thing
died
is,
or not.
crouching behind a car and going, with a gun going, hey lady, come here.
Yeah, right.
That's, you could
Yeah.
get a different response than,
From different
come,
women.
what do you want?
Or even from a man. I mean, what do you mean, come in? Here you are.
You got a
I'm not sure,
gun.
was his gun out at that point or not?
Yeah.
I think so.
But see, every person that was involved in that some kind of way is going to be
They're going
investigated.
to be in court.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody
to
is
court.
going to
Right.
be investigated and are going to have to go to court unless the law enforcement says, okay, we found enough evidence that that lady
Doesn't have to show.
wasn't a party to this thing.
Well, the good news is it happened in Houston, Texas. And in Houston, Texas, probably no one's going to jail. A couple of guys go in the hospital, but I don't think anybody's going to jail.
Well, the guy who was legging it down the road may not go anywhere.
Well, he may not go anywhere. He may not even make it. But I think from the viewpoint of the viewer, whether or not you actually draw your weapon and decide to take out a couple of guys who are robbing a store, I want to give that some thought again. You didn't get that gun so that you could become a superhero. You got that gun and the permit to carry it because you wanted to protect yourself and you wanted to protect your family and the people around you. Does that qualify as people around you? Yeah, you know, I'm not sure on that. And I think you need to weigh that quite a bit before you step up and do that. In just 30 seconds, anybody want to disagree with me?
I'll refine it a little, which is, once again, you have to look at immediate threat. And if these guys are running away, there's been no deaths involved, there's not some, let them go.
Let them go. Okay. You know, if they're not shooting at you, are they?
Yeah. Right.
Right? They're not shooting at you.
Well,
so
they don't want them shooting at anybody.
If they're not shooting at you,
Yeah.
no one shot anyone actually. And there you are. Okay, as it turns out, he is an ex-Marine. He has trained doing something similar, and that's the reason why he got involved. We got to go though. Be safe, be trained, be alert.